All right, guys, it's time for your Metafix. Origins is just around the corner, and this is all we've been talking about for the past little while. If you're not a regular watcher of the Meta Lab, this episode, you're going to want some of the details from it. If you are a regular watcher of the Meta Lab, I've talked about this a lot, so you might be bored out of your mind. I'm more or less just prepping people, getting them mentally ready for all the things that are going to be coming in Origins. But I'm going to, towards the end, throw a little bit of a meat into what you should be doing or what you should be prepping for as far as the World Championships and U.S. Nationals Championships and grinders for Origins are concerned. So that's kind of my lead into this. This is not necessarily, the first part of this is going to be a lot of logistics, and then the last couple parts of it are going to be more the meat. So just a heads up for you guys who are not regular watchers of the Meta Lab. Or for who are regular watchers of Meta Lab, there's going to be some stuff I've already talked about on that a lot. Anyway, let's get into it and what you need to know for Origins. Okay, so the first things first that we need to know is the event schedule. This is an important element. This is going to be at Origins Games Fair, by the way. If you check out their website, it's got a lot of the details as far as where you need to be, what you need to know, and how much it's going to cost you. As a heads up, the full trip pass is $60, which is the one that myself and Amber have purchased for us to be there the entire time. But WizKids events start on the Wednesday, beginning at 11 a.m. with registration, 12 p.m. with registration as well. Now, worth noting is there's two ways to qualify for Worlds this year. There's two ways specifically. One of which is placing high enough at a national championship prior to U.S. national championships. And it would depend on attendance of the day of the actual tournament. So what'll happen is if you played in like Mexican nationals, Brazilian nationals, Australian nationals, Canadian nationals as well, there will be a certain attendance on the second day or the actual culmination after you've qualified for those tournaments. The number of people for there, that one for every 8 players in the second day of the event will qualify. That's, of course, in the top of that. So if in a case of Canadian Nationals, we had, I think, 24 players on the second day, which means the top 3 are qualified for Worlds. And that's across all nationals that are not U.S. nationals specifically. This is going to cause some kerfuffles, I'm sure, with some folks. I still wouldn't qualify because I did terribly at Canadian nationals, so ruthlessly bad that I was really ashamed of my what I did. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. All right. So now starting on the Wednesday, the only way you can qualify on the Wednesday is what are called the qualifiers. These individual qualifiers start at 2 p.m. They stop registration at 5 p.m. These events are 3-round, 8-man single elimination tournaments. So basically, what happens then is the top 2 get work done towards qualifying. So what's most important about these 8-man qualifiers is when you lose matters. Because a lot of times you can go 2-1 and decently expect to place decently enough. That's not the case here. You lose once, you're gone, go get into another qualifier, and that's it. Now, so it'll end up being 3 rounds because that's how 8-man single elimination will work. There's 4 games, then there's 2 games, then there's 1 game, and then there's a decider on that. The top 2 players from that work towards getting into to Worlds. The first place player is qualified for Worlds. Boom, done. Second place player has half of the points. So you need 8 qualifying points to get into Worlds. If you get second place in a grinder, you have 4 points. If you win the grinder, I'm going to refer to these qualifying tournaments as grinders because that's all you're grinding hard to get into Worlds. So the first place player gets 8, the second place player gets 4, and you need 8 points to qualify for the World Championship. Once you have your 8 points, you can't get any more. So be happy, be done, get out of the qualifiers. You're just wasting time. that said, once you have your 8 points qualifying, you can relax until Friday because that's when World Championships is. The other way to qualify is if you check below, there will be a link to the WizKids list of qualified players from WKOs. If you want a qualification at WKO, haven't used it for your Nationals tournament, you can go to U.S. Nationals, which is being held on the Thursday. Now, this event starts at 10 a.m. And as a result, what'll happen is they'll play a number of rounds of Swiss, then they'll cut to a top 8 and so on. But the top 50%, so let's say for argument's sake, 50 players play in U.S. Nationals. The top 25 are immediately qualified for Worlds the next day. The bottom 25 will have 4 points towards their World qualifications. So note that. So U.S. Nationals has this prizing. It's all got really cool prizing still, but the top 50% are qualified for Worlds, and the bottom 50% are half qualified for Worlds. You got to go at least second place in one of these grinders. Cool? Awesome. All right. That said, if you're in one of the grinders, if you lose in the first round, you're going to get a bystander token. One of the con-exclusive bystander tokens. Really cool. Awesome. These things are neato, kind of extra little things to have. If you place in the top 4 of them, you'll get a con-exclusive. So win round 1, you're getting a con-exclusive. Win round 2, you're still getting a con-exclusive, but now you're definitely at minimum halfway to getting Worlds. Win the whole thing, you're in Worlds. Have a nice day. Go play some Battle Royales. Awesome, right? Okay. So that's how the Wednesday and Thursday works. You have those 2 days with which to qualify. Now, if you're playing in U.S. Nationals, good news. Once again, the grinders don't start again until 2 p.m., which means that if you've... And usually the bottom half of the national championships will not have been in the top 8 and will now have their chances to go get out of everybody's way and start qualifying again. And I'm going to discuss some gaming the system stuff in a second, and some of it's going to sound scumbaggy, but this is just going to be ultimately the way the cookie crumbles. And anyway. So then Friday will be Heroclix World Championships. Then Saturday will be the Team Championships, and Sunday will be strictly Battle Royales. Have some fun. All right. So let's talk the big picture here, guys. These grinders are constructive. So you bring your bring your 300-point teams to try to grind it out. And what's really important about these is you want to play your safest teams possible, minimal risk. For the most part, I'd almost expect all of these 8-man grinders to be full of Jakeem Thunders and Goblin Kings. It's just the way the meta is going to go, and they're ultimately the safest bets. You need to know that your team, it's the team you feel the safest with, not necessarily World Championship teams. That's where you're allowed to take a little bit more risks, because in some cases you need to take the risk that might go a little bit extra, but a lot of times those risks are glass cannon-y types of strategies. Not necessarily true. You might have something that's going to definitely beat a Jakeem Thunder or Goblin King in combination with a Peacemaker. I don't know. Or a Peace Machine, sorry. I'm not going to assume anything. You got to understand is these grinders are going to be attempting the hardest way through. What's also worth noting about the grinders is the Wednesday grinders, we suck. All of us. We are the worst players that are trying to get into Worlds, or we're the silent, off to the side players. They will most likely be the ones that have the most desperate people like myself. Just didn't get that qualification through WKO, didn't get that qualification through their national championships, and we have these grinders to try to get into Worlds, and that's all we have. It's the competition in these is going to be stiff, it's going to be intense, it's going to be hard. Honestly, as well, points don't matter for these. Pay attention to that, because once you get into single elimination, the win is all that matters. I can win by 5 points, I can win by 10 points, I can win by 100 points. Doesn't matter. The win is all that matters. So, that's why I'm suggesting the idea of the safe team. The team that's going to take a thing and be safe after that is ideal strategy for these, because you want that ticket in. Once you have that ticket in, you're in fun zone. Battle Royales are awesome. If you see me in a Battle Royale, I've probably played 4 grinders to finally get second place in 2 of them, and I'm going to be the loud guy at the Battle Royales because I always have a ton of fun at them. Beyond that, though, it's a lot. It seems easier to get in, but it isn't. You have less margin for error this time because you don't have that first game bubble of I might get 2-1 and get in. If you lose in that first game, you're gone. Go sign up for another one. These things are $12 each, so it's going to be a little pricey if you're losing or playing carelessly or not paying attention. So it is very important that you recognize a lot of this, these aspects of everything. And when we talk about the metagame of Origins, the current safe idea or the grand idea of the metagame for Origins right now, or for World Championships, is that we're looking at the Jakeem and Goblin King focused meta. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to play those to win. You have to consider those in order to compete. There's a vast difference between the two things and the different meanings that are coming out of this. I'll try to explain myself, because I've said it in other episodes, but I don't know if it becomes clear. Those 2 figures are the 2 figures that are the toughest to get by and are the ones that are defining what we have to do in order to win. And that there's a drastic distinction on that one. It's not necessarily if you don't play those, you don't win. If you beat those, you're going to do well. But don't strictly beat those. You have to be able to beat those and other things, because those other things will catch some people off guard, and some people are just off the wall crazy when it comes to their builds. Because Worlds, oftentimes you'll find a lot of players are just trying something off the wall, and sometimes that off the wall thing is just a nightmare for that thing you thought was going to counter something that's good. So I hope I haven't overwhelmed you with that last little bit. It's going to be an intense competition at Origins Games Fair, but it's also, this intense competition is a ton of fun. A lot of people really enjoy this, like myself. Just the stiff competition of everybody trying hard and really going gung-ho for the big prize of making a figure for Heroclix. So, I hope to see a bunch of you there. I hope the information I've given you has helped you out a lot. And I hope you're coming up with some really cool ideas with, what if being the last set. This episode's probably coming out on Wednesday, which is release day. So get your what if, guys. Go get your figures. Grab a brick or a case. Crack them open. Trade your way into whatever you need to get in order to feel comfortable with a team that you think can get you into the World Championships. Because with that, you can safely say you've enjoyed yourself, done your best, and done really well and gotten your way into the World Championships. And I hope the World Championships has a lot of players in it, because people are really grinding out these grinders and are doing well in U.S. Nationals. With that said, guys, thank you very much for watching. See you guys at Origins Game Fair. And once you're at Origins Game Fair, I hope you're well practiced, because taking those teams and practicing them will make them better, because practice makes your team better. Have a good night, guys.